Tuesday. It's like becoming my favorite day of the week now. You guys know what time it is. It's time for a brand new episode of Tested Tuesday. And if you don't know what Tested Tuesday is, what have you been doing living under a rock? I'm just kidding. Basically, what we do here is every Tuesday we test out a brand new product that was sent out to me, typically from a company in China. In this case, they sent out this monitor, a company by the name of Yoyo. Sounds funny. So if you don't want to miss out on an episode of Tested Tuesday, make sure to subscribe because we will be doing videos every week on Tuesday, and make sure to turn on notifications. So Yoyo, what the heck is this? It's a monitor that you use on a camera, like for example, the Sony A7III if you have a Canon camera, and it's only $134. I know I say only because typically field monitors can be very expensive. Is it any good? And that's the whole idea. That's why we are here, and I've been using this guy for about a month or so, and it's actually pretty interesting. There's goods and there's bads, and we're gonna talk about that. So the outside is made out of this like hardened plastic material. It feels cheap, and I think if you drop it, it will definitely shatter into pieces. It's not as premium as something like the small HD Focus that has this rubber material on the back, and I think if you drop this, it probably will hold up a lot better than this. I think if you drop this thing's gonna shatter into 100 pieces. But anyway, it does have a couple of neat features, which we'll go over in a second. You get a 1/4" mount on the side, you get another 1/4" mount on top, so this is great if you wanna mount like a side microphone, or if you have something else that you wanna mount. So it does have variety. There's also another 1/4" mount on the bottom. This also has an HDMI output, and it does come with a cable, which is kind of nice. The output is if you want to do like HDMI pass-through, so you can actually connect this to another monitor or something else, which is actually pretty interesting. You do get a 3.5mm headphone jack for your audio if you want to monitor, and it also has a DC input on this side, so if you want to connect it to a power outlet or anything like that. This is actually what was very interesting to me, especially at this price point, is the fact that you can actually use two different types of batteries to power this. You can use the legendary Canon batteries, which are the LP, and it works really well. I haven't really used it with the LP batteries. I've used it more with the Sony MP batteries, just because this thing is like 8,600 milliamps. So the way you remove it, you just push a little button back here, and then that comes off. And then of course you can use the larger Sony batteries, which is really nice because these, again, you can get these like in 8,000 plus milliamps. And in my usage, I was able to get easily over about an hour and a half to 2 hours of use with these larger batteries. On top, you have the power button, you have a couple of menu options, and that's basically it. There's another thing on the side here, which I'll show you guys, on the front, excuse me, of the monitor, is this little small hood, which is kind of cool because it protects the screen or the display from getting damaged or anything like that. So that's actually really cool. The other thing is, underneath here, you can probably hear it, there's like this Velcro material, and it does come with a little hood, which I don't really see, or really haven't seen, many other companies utilize something like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting to have a Velcro type, you know, sun hood, which works really good. So let's go ahead and take this off. There you go. See, you can see it. It works really good. Okay, so let's go ahead and power this bad boy on. So the display resolution on this is 1920 by 1200, and something that was actually very interesting to me is the fact that this actually supports a 4K input. So a lot of monitors you'll notice is that you'll have to output the camera or set the camera to 1080p, and it won't accept a 4K signal. So this one does, and the benefit of that is the fact that there won't be any weird cropping or anything like that, because a lot of times if the camera is 4K but you have to output to 1080p, there may be some slight cropping. In this case, you won't see that. So that was actually really interesting. The colors is something that I think you guys are gonna wanna know are really not that great. They're actually very bad in terms of like the color calibration. However, you can adjust and make some changes, but still I found out that I cannot get it, or at least dial it in to something like my Sony camera, which actually is pretty much what I see is exactly what my image is going to look like when I start editing it. So for what it's worth, I would not use this as a reference monitor because that is something that I do not recommend. However, this is actually really good for, you know, checking focus, obviously the larger field of view compared to something smaller like this. The benefit of this monitor, and you'll see when we dive into the menu system and you see all of the different tools that are available. For example, if you have a camera that doesn't have peaking, like basically all the Canon cameras don't have this, but Sony's do. That comes in handy because you have peaking controls. You also have histograms. You have the ability to also do false color, which is something that I love to use, especially when checking exposure. There's also other things that you can do, for example, change the sharpness, the contrast, the color temperature of the monitor to make it a little bit more accessible to your shooting style. You can also do, for example, aspect ratio marker. So if you're shooting like a 235:1, you can see the crop lines. And overall, I think this monitor works pretty good. I'm not a fan of the menu system. Navigating through it is just kind of cumbersome. It's not like the 501, which has a little thumbstick on it, and it has the ability to do like shortcuts and things like that. But I think if you're gonna use it for like a little vlog cam, like to have the an external monitor that you can see yourself and kind of mainly use it more for composition more than anything else, because in terms of like the colors and stuff, it's just not that great. So for me, I think this is kind of like a cool throwaway monitor. Like if I'm gonna travel somewhere and I don't wanna take my expensive gear and this is just kind of out there and I don't care if it gets bumped or broken or anything like that, I would definitely pick something like this up. And like I said, I do like the fact that you can put Sony and Canon batteries because that's very useful. So overall, a little nice packaged monitor that if you wanna use for filming, I think it's worth it. So this one's definitely a go. I would recommend it. Again, I would not use it for reference. So in terms of colors, don't use it for that. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Remember to stay tuned for next week. We have some awesome stuff. Catch me on Instagram at MondoBytes if you guys want to see behind the scenes. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.